And welcome back to our next edition of the CBB Review Studio Podcast. I am Dan Siegel, joined today by my panelist of pickers for our first edition of the weekend game picks that we will be doing throughout the year. We will be picking our game of the week with Auburn playing at Houston and then other games in a college game day style. Today, I am joined by Matt Mlodzinski and TJ O'Sullivan of CBB Review, and also by Cole Adams. If you are on college basketball Twitter, you definitely know who this man is. So I welcome you guys. Let's jump right into it. So let's start with our game of the week. Auburn, ranked number 11 in the nation, is going to be playing at Houston, the number 4 team. And there's no odds yet on this game as far as I see, but I see Torvik projects it as like a 72 to 70 game in favor of Houston. Both teams are top 5 in that model. Cole, you mentioned before the episode that they're 1 and 2 respectively in KenPom. I haven't really seen much from Houston yet. They beat Jackson State in their opener 97-40. Auburn smoked Vermont 94-43. That was very impressive. I'll start with our guest picker. I'll start with Cole. What are you kind of making of this game? What are your initial thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, it's really exciting that we're getting a 1 and 2 matchup literally on the first week. I'm excited because both Houston's game against, even though it was like Jackson State, that was like the first analytically final game, like the quickest from like the first week. So both these teams are kind of coming out and like they're playing really well already, especially Auburn, because they have a lot of new guys, where Houston, they brought back a lot of the same team from last year, even though a lot of those guys were injured towards the end of the year. But I'm kind of expecting, I'm just going to trust Houston in this game because they're the team that has more like continuity, and Auburn has to travel down to, I think the game's not even being played on Houston's campus. I'm pretty sure it's at the Rockets Arena.
Yeah, it is.
Toyota Center. So I think Houston will have a pretty good crowd. I mean, Auburn travels pretty well too, so I would expect them to have a good following there. But again, I'm just going to trust Houston in this game strictly based on Kelvin Sampson. And, you know, I just feel like that's a team that's kind of hard to prepare for necessarily. And maybe Auburn might be getting a little ahead of themselves because of how well they played against Vermont, because that was a pure beatdown. Which, I mean, Vermont's a pretty good team too. So it's like, that was honestly pretty eye-opening for how good Auburn's going to be this year. But again, like I said, I'm just going to trust Houston in this game. I don't know what you guys think, but that's kind of what I'm feeling so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in next because I'm going to bring up our first disagreement of this episode. I've got Auburn winning this game, and I do know, look, it's at Houston, right? Houston is going to be the home team for this game. That really helps out on the early slate in college basketball. I just look at that Vermont game, and sure, it's one game, but when you're winning by 50 points, you got Johnny Broome taking step-back threes. You've got Miles Kelly coming off the bench and giving you 21 points. Just the depth and the gamesmanship that Auburn is showing, and it's only November 8th right now as we're recording this. I just like what the Tigers did in that game. I think that both of these teams are going to end up being Sweet 16 teams down the road. But in November right now, I think that Auburn is slightly the better team. It's going to be a toss-up. All these games that we're going to talk about today, most of them are going to be complete toss-ups. This one for sure, right? You mentioned it, 1 and 2 in KenPom. I'm going with Auburn getting this early win.
Well, I'm glad that Matt disagreed because now I have someone to stand with. I think that Auburn is going to win this game, but I don't think it's for the reasons that Matt said. You know, 2 top-level teams beating up on lower-level teams early in the season, I think that just, that's a tune-up for the regular season. Auburn got punched in the mouth in the tournament last year. In the first round, they're done. They were expected to go. Yale beat them. They're coming back. Johnny Broome, the leader in the locker room, one of the best players in the nation, arguably an NBA talent last year, he's coming back. And I can guarantee you that all offseason he's been preaching, we need to do better than last year. We were supposed to be a Final Four team last year. So I think Auburn's going to win this game, and Kelvin Sampson's going to put a great team out on the floor. He's still got L.J. Cryer and JoJo Tugler. I think that the absence of Jamal Shedd will show itself in that game, and I think Auburn's going to win this game.
Okay, so 2 Auburns, 1 Houston. I think for me, the most intuition I have about this game is I think it's going to be very low scoring. I think both defenses definitely have the advantage here. Can Houston really have any sort of offensive success against Auburn's defense? Because Auburn defends the interior extremely well. They were the top 2-point percentage defense in the country last year. Houston's got shooters with Cryer and Sharp, but I think their offense could get a little cluttered. And then Auburn, I don't see them having anywhere near the offensive success that they had at Vermont. With Houston, the way they defend, they are the elite at defending like any sort of action, but especially what Auburn likes to do with Janai Broome and that no middle defense will kind of like not let that happen. And I think overall low scoring. I think I wouldn't be surprised if neither team reaches 70, but I think at the end it comes down to, in a game like that, who could hit those tougher shots. I'm going to go with Auburn. I'm going to go with Matt and TJ with Auburn. I think with JP McGee and Denver Jones, Chad Baker, Mazzara, who's a huge factor at 6'7", Miles Kelly off the bench, you mentioned it. Auburn 70, Houston 66. That's my prediction.
Ooh, pulling out predictions already. Jeez.
Yeah.
I'll be the lone wolf. I'll gladly take Kelvin Sampson. There'll be a good game, so I'm excited no matter what.
I'm surprised. I thought I might have been the only one to pick Auburn, so I'm kind of surprised that it's actually in the majority here. But let's move on to our rest of our games. We'll go more rapid fire with this. So first, we're going to start with Tennessee at Louisville. This one at noon on the ACC network. We'll go like clockwise here. So we'll start with Matt, then TJ, then Cole, and then to me.
I'm glad. Who picked this one? This can be quick. This is going to be Tennessee. Louisville is not ready yet. Maybe next year. Maybe next year if they play. But I'm going with Tennessee in this one. Just too much offensive firepower on this Tennessee team. Even without Dalton Knecht, they figure it out. Rick Barnes figures it out. And, Tennessee's going to win this game.
Let's get crazy on the first game. I saw a video yesterday with Pat Kelsey going around campus, getting the student body fired up for this game against Tennessee. It's a new system, brand new era of Louisville basketball. I'm going to pick Louisville. It's probably the bad pick, but I'm going to pick them anyway.
Yeah, that's bold. Especially for a noon game. We'll see if that the Center is rocking. But I'm going to have to go with Tennessee here. Just strictly based on I think Louisville, it's a year early.
Agreed. I think Tennessee just sucks the life out of the Louisville building. I talked about defensively how good Tennessee is. They got the best guard, wing, center trio defensively in the country. And Zakai Ziegler, Zamai Maychak, and Felix Opara. I think it's Tennessee pretty handily. Let's talk about this one, though. 6 o'clock, Memphis is playing UNLV criminally on ESPN Plus. We'll go same order here. What's up, Matt?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously so much has gone on with Memphis, right? It doesn't even seem like a real program at times, but PJ Haggerty dropping 25 points in that opening game over a good, or at least I shouldn't say good Missouri team, a Missouri team that we expect that won't win 0 games in the SEC this season. So I don't know, just seeing Memphis win that game, I'd like to think that they could probably parlay it and get to 2-0 with a win over UNLV.
Yeah, like Matt said, Memphis very inconsistent at times, especially in the middle of the season. But historically, in the beginning of the season, they do pretty well. They jump out of the gate pretty hot. So I am going to pick Memphis in this one.
Yeah, Memphis, they looked good in their first game despite all the nonsense that's happened. So I'm just going to trust them again. So that's about all I got.
Okay, I'm disagreeing. I like UNLV. I think this is a classic example of the game that Memphis would lose. Like throughout the Penny Hardaway era, they lose games like this. UNLV is super experienced. They play up to their competition. A stat I like, they are first last year in paper tiger factor per Haslametrics. What does that mean? It means they have the highest tendency to play their best games against good teams and their worst games against bad teams. So I'm going UNLV. Next up, Arkansas at Baylor, also in the kind of the mid-evening time slot, 7:30 Eastern. This is a ranked matchup, 16th in the nation. Arkansas, 8th ranked. Baylor, who just had a brutal loss to Gonzaga. Do the Bears bounce back, Matt?
Yeah, they probably will be 18th after the new AP poll comes out. I don't know. Maybe they beat Arkansas. I'm actually going to go with Baylor in this game, though. That might be a little bit of a surprise, but I just don't think you go 3 of 21 from 3 again, right? I mean, Baylor just could not buy a bucket against Gonzaga. I don't think this Bears team does that against Arkansas. Like you mentioned, at Baylor, they played some Baylor basketball against Gonzaga. They only had 12 turnovers. It wasn't like this team was bad in all phases of the game, practically most phases in the game, and they couldn't stop Gonzaga. But Gonzaga looks like a team with national championship aspirations right off the bat. Talk about Memphis starting hot early. Zags always seem to do the same thing as well, right? They pick up some big wins early on. So I don't think we should judge Baylor off of that opening night. Just terrible loss, and I think they come back and get a win over Arkansas.
I agree with Matt. I think that the Baylor loss to Gonzaga says more about Gonzaga than Baylor. I think that, it's a very talented roster. Jeremy Roach and Norshad Omier coming over. I think that they bounce back in this one. Once again, it's that just got punched in the mouth mentality. I think that they come back and put a pretty sizable win up on Arkansas.
Okay, well, I'm going to go against the grain here. I'm going to go with Arkansas. I was kind of concerned with Baylor's offense in their first game. Maybe they just got blitzed and they kind of just didn't really know what to do, and they're going to have a little bit of a reset. And I like Scott Drew, but I don't know. I just feel like Arkansas, they need like a statement here. And I mean, both these teams kind of do, but I feel like I'm just going to pick Arkansas in this one, even though it's at Baylor, so be a good environment, but I'm going to go with Arkansas.
I'm going to go Baylor with Matt and TJ. I think, like Matt said, the shooting variance, like this is what I thought would be the best three-point shooting team in the nation. They went 3 for 21, regression to the mean kind of thing. So I'm going Baylor. At the same time, we got Northwestern at Dayton on ESPN+.
This is a true toss-up to me. These teams in a lot of the same areas, and both of them played and beat up on some pretty bad teams with their first games in St. Francis, PA, and Lehigh. 50 rebounds for Dayton in that game, 45 for Northwestern against Lehigh. They both had over 20-plus assists. So we saw some teams that clearly are going to put forth some pretty good offense at times this season. I'm going to actually go with Dayton. I mean, like you mentioned, at Dayton, Posh Alexander can shut down the best of offensive players in the nation at times. I like Northwestern overall, and I've mentioned that before on our preview shows, Dan. But in this game, at least right now, I think Dayton wins it.
Sucks going after Matt when you agree with him all the time. He takes all of your stuff that you want to say. I am going to pick Dayton in this one. I loved what I saw from them last year. They have a lot of talent coming back. Northwestern, perennial tournament team in that 9 and 8 seed, but I think that Dayton they've really got something special going on over there.
Yeah, I'm going to have to pick Dayton, not as just a Dayton fan, but I feel like they're going to want some revenge from last year. They played at Northwestern, and it was a pretty close game. That was one I really wish Dayton could have got. I'm going to expect a great environment, obviously, at Dayton. They always bring it, and I think that's their biggest home game of the year. So I think that it's going to be a pretty good environment. So I like the Flyers.
All right. Once again, I'm going against all of you. I'm going Northwestern. I think the biggest story for Northwestern, who steps up in the post-Boo Buie era. And a lot of people were pointing to this guy, this forward, plays a 3-4 spot, Nick Martinelli. How about 26 points on 9 of 12 shooting in the opener against Lehigh? I'm confident that they'll have that offensive surge and get past Dayton. So that's my pick. I'm picking Northwestern against you guys.
Dan's just being the insurance guy. He's picking all of the ones that we all pick. He's picking the opposite, make sure we get it right. I love it.
Therefore, nobody could, take a screenshot of us and be like, look at CB review. They got it wrong. Exactly. Mid-major game of the week here. We got Western Kentucky at Grand Canyon, also on ESPN+. Tune into this one, by the way. It should be a lot of fun. Should be fast-paced and a lot of scoring. So I'm just pointing that out there. Like, there's a lot of great games in the evening, but tune into this one. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I got 3 words for you. Tyon Grant Foster, right? One of the best mid-major players in the game. I think Western Kentucky is in for a solid season. I think Grand Canyon is in for another top-end season in mid-major college basketball. They could win 30-plus games again. They're going to be a team that you need to you can't write off in March, and they start that with another quality win here against Western Kentucky.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Grand Canyon as well. Our North Carolina ACC writer, Kyle Nashheim, he was telling me all early last season, keep your eye on Grand Canyon, and I did not listen to him. And then I got to see them play into the midseason, and I was like, I'm not going to pick against this team again. Grand Canyon is going to win this game.
I don't know how they do it, but Lopes, go Lopes.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think Grant Foster, he did not play in the season opener. He might not play in this one. Either way, though, they're still loaded. Like Ray Harrison, Jacoby Coles, both scored 20+. They'll be fine. I'm going Grand Canyon. Finally, we got a clean sweep across the board. So, yeah, maybe bulletin board material. But moving on, we got Washington and Nevada, the late night Saturday time slot on the Mountain West Network, whatever that is. What do you think?
Yeah, who knows?
I've never heard the Mountain West Network.
There's a new one every single day that I've never heard of. They just keep dropping.
Can we just be normal and put these games on Facebook like it's been all along? I feel like Nevada, between Nick Davidson and Kobe Sanders, you've got like a nice 1-2 punch there. And then you look at Washington, and again, just one game, but Great Osibor plays nearly the whole game, goes for 15, 17 boards, 6 steals, 3 assists, 2 blocks, does it all. And they beat UC Davis by 6 points, right? Like, if you're going to have to rely on Great Osibor to be that great and still only win a game by 6 points over a UC Davis team that I don't think is going to be that great. I watched them last night against Idaho. I don't know why I put myself through that. And, yeah, Nevada's going to win this game. It could be close. I'm not saying that I don't trust Washington. I'm just saying that right now it doesn't look like they improved much after letting go of Mike Hopkins the year before.
Yeah, the Mountain West side of Twitter loves to tell me how I don't watch the games and how I don't know anything about the conference. I do know about Great Osibor, and I do know about his former head coach and still current head coach, Danny Sprinkle. I love what they're doing. I love what they did at Utah State last year. Coming into the Big Ten, I think that they're going to make an impact. They're going to beat Nevada pretty easily here tonight. Or Saturday, excuse me.
Yeah, I like Washington as well in this game. We'll just keep it at that.
I'll make it 2-2. I'll agree with Matt. I think Nevada wins. They've been such a consistent program under Steve Alford. Washington, they struggled against UC Davis. I think it'll take time to get acclimated under Danny Sprinkle. So that's my pick. So we're kind of split there. And then we got Boise State at San Francisco also going on the late night Saturday night. What do we think here? It's a great game.
Yeah, this is an awesome game. This is a true 50-50 toss-up for me. I'm just going to take Boise State in it because I've kind of followed the Broncos a little bit for the past couple of years, and it just seems like they always retool and reload. You got Tyson Degenhart. You got Omar Stanley. You got a lot of guys on this team. So does San Francisco. That's why I said toss-up. Don't take my word for it, but I'm going Boise State.
Yeah, I'm once again going to take recency bias. Boise State had a really nice year last year, and they do have Degenhart coming back. I'll pick the Broncos.
Yeah, I like Boise State in this game too, because Tyson is obviously coming. He's back this year. And also, San Francisco kind of struggled in their game against Cal Poly. I remember watching that on election night. Don't ask me why. Yeah, so I'm going to go with Boise State. I think that they're going to win this game.
Yeah. They also defend the hell out of the ball. I don't think they'll be phased in that road game. Like those Mountain West environments, I believe, are a lot tougher. I'll go Boise State, clean sweep across the board. Now we got Sunday. We got a couple games that we'll pick there. We got 2, starting with Michigan at Wake. This one at 1 o'clock. So no NFL football for you guys. You're watching this for sure. What do you think, Matt?
I don't know. I was pretty high on Wake going into the season, but Michigan looked really good in that opening win. I mean, we weren't sure what they were going to do with, their big guys. And, clearly, I thought it was going to be Vlad Golden. Where's Danny Wolf going to fit in on this team? And then Danny Wolf goes off and has a monster game in game 1. So, I don't know. I'm taking the Wolverines in this game. I think Wake Forest has a lot of room to grow. They didn't shoot well from the field or from 3 in both of their games right now. You look at their their overall stats and just seems to be kind of sporadic. So I'll go with the Wolverines win.
I am going to disagree. I think that Wake Forest was one of the most underrated teams in the nation last year. I think that, they went through their stretches where they just couldn't put it together, but they do have a lot of talent over there, namely in Hunter Salas and Cameron Hildreth. They've got a ton of shooting over there. Give me Wake Forest in a close one.
I like Michigan. They looked so good in their first game. And I feel like Wake Forest is a team that we're just constantly like waiting for them to get over that hump. And I feel like they're going to need the full season to really get there. And I just feel like Michigan, they just played so well. I was expecting them to take a little bit longer to, kind of adjust under their new coach. So, but Michigan, I'll take them.
Yeah, I mean, it's been the same way with Wake under Steve Forbes. I'm cautiously optimistic about them. Like Salas and Efton Reed did not look great in the first two games. I was so high on Wake in the preseason. I'm going to agree with TJ. If I'm wrong here, I'm going to have to seriously reevaluate them. But so far, I'm going to stick with my preseason gut, and I'm going to go with Wake. Final game of the night. Does anybody really have anything to say about this? I just kind of had to slide this in there because there was nothing else. But Arizona State at Gonzaga. Look at what Gonzaga did against Baylor this past week. Enough said, right?
If you pick Arizona State in this game, like TJ, if you do this, don't even dare. I'm firing you from the website. So
I was going to say they've just got the wrong Hurley. It's Gonzaga was really good, obviously. So yeah.
Zags got dudes, and Arizona State looked so bad in that exhibition game against Duke that. And it might be a really long season for them.
All right, and then finally, we end all of our shows. We're going to pick a super dog, a team. The spreads are not out yet, but just someone who's like 10, 12 plus point dogs as you project that you think has a chance of winning outright. What do you think?
Look, I hate to do this to myself, and I don't know what the spread is yet, but after watching Seton Hall and how bad the offense was in game one, I feel like Fordham goes in to the Prudential Center and comes away with a win on Saturday afternoon. They already played St. John's. They already have some experience against a Big East team. Seton Hall looks terrible offensively. Noon games are always tough on the weekends, especially in Jersey. There's a lot more going on. I don't know if the fan support's going to be great. I think Fordham upsets the Pirates, if you want to call it that. It's an Atlantic 10 team. I'm sure it'll be a 10-point spread or something around there. Maybe a little bit more like 7 or 8, but we'll go Fordham.
Well, I could not really find a spread that I liked that was 10 plus. But ESPN has Kansas, North Carolina, Kansas 7.5-point favorites. I can't imagine that this is going to be a 7 or 8 point game. No matter who wins. So I will take North Carolina as my dog.
Okay.
That's a good pivot there. We didn't even get to pick that game, which that's going to be an exciting one tonight. But for me on the underdog, this is just Horizon League bias, but let's just go with Northern Kentucky tonight over Purdue. That's probably a 20-point. I was going to say also, I feel like a 20-point spread. I don't know if it's going to be that bad, but Arizona State could be a just because of how well Gonzaga played. But yeah, that's kind of what I got. I'll just throw a dart on the board and we'll just go with Northern Kentucky tonight over Purdue. Probably won't happen, obviously, but that's probably going to be a 20-point spread. So I'll go with that.
And I'm just going to keep picking on Wisconsin until they prove me otherwise. There's nothing I like about them on Sunday. They're hosting App State. I expect the spread to be like 10 to 12 points. App State lost pretty good to Miami of Ohio in their opener, which will make when Wisconsin loses to them or inevitably struggles with them, it'll look even worse. So I'm probably going to do that every week. Just pick on whoever Wisconsin's playing and heavy favorites against. But thank you guys for joining the show. We will be doing this every single week, potentially sometimes live on Saturday mornings. And we'll be picking all these games. We will also be having Monday recap shows every week. So be sure to subscribe to CB Review on YouTube and follow us on Twitter for content like that. Thanks everyone for watching and listening, and take care.